pointing this out, of course, the COVID pandemic has also raised a couple of new challenges, but also opportunities for internationalization. So this is something we are grappling with right now in Germany, and I'd like to give you a quick overview. So as universities in Germany, we, I think, have a certain self-confidence that we play an important role in our society. We are the core of the national research and innovation system. Of course, research is also taking place in other institutions, such as the Max Planck Society, Helmholtz Society. You know many of these institutes, but we consider ourselves at the universities being the core. And the recent success of research with the BioNTech vaccine, which was developed at one of our universities, helped us, of course, to communicate this to the broader public. So we see ourselves as crystallization points, and of course, Germany being a nation that has good relations to most other countries on the planet, we see internationalization as a key issue. Next slide, please. Just a few figures. Our organization, the Rectors Conference, the Universities Rectors Conference, has about 300 universities as members. On top of that, that includes more applied universities, but also kind of traditional universities. Then you have private universities on top. All in all, we're looking at 730,000 staff, close to 50,000 professorships in Germany, and close to 3 million students in Germany, compared to about 80 million population in Germany. So it's a large number. Most of you know that PhDs, doctorates, play an important role in our educational system. We award doctorates not only for people who want to become university faculty. We have a broad range of doctorates, also, of course, in medicine and law. And that leads to a relatively high number of doctorates awarded and, of course, associated research. And of course, that costs money, and we're constantly negotiating with our national and state governments about funding, but the recent years have been pretty good regarding public funding of university research. Next slide, please. Yeah, this I already mentioned, the German Rectors Conference, 268 member institutions. All the public institutions are members, and most of the students are then represented by these 268 institutions. On top of that, again, you have a certain number of private universities, which, however, do not play as important a role as in India. That's at least my perception. And we are kind of the lobby group, if you want to use that word, the political and public voice for universities, and of course, an important link to the political bodies. Next slide, please. Yeah, and now the international aspect. It's a truism, of course, universities have always been transnational actors, but as I said in my introduction, things have somewhat changed, given the tight communication channels that we have across the planet, which is, of course, is a good thing. And COVID also has shown that this kind of international operations are ever more important and provide interesting perspectives in sharing content, sharing lecture, sharing knowledge, all for the public good. That's the ultimate goal, for the good of our students, of the next generation of our leaders. And their internationalization plays an important role, not only for students to learn English, but for becoming broader educated and developing a broader, more open mindset. And I think only universities that approach this kind of openness and this kind of internationalization actively, and not kind of as an add-on, will be able to meet societal expectations. Next slide, please. We are transnational. You all know this. Mr. Azadi has just mentioned the good connection that we already have to India. Of course, we have many other working relationships to many other countries. We are a very popular host country for internationally mobile students worldwide. This even more so as we offer more and more programs also in English. At my own university, the University of Potsdam, we offer about 1/3 of our master's programs in English. And that's a very very well considered strategy to attract top talent from all over the world. And we have several Indian students, of course, that came to Germany because we came to Potsdam because we offer these English language master programs. Most of them learned some German along the way. But the English language master program combined, of course, not to forget, with the fact that we don't charge any tuition at the public universities, no tuition, that provides a very attractive package for students from India, from China, from all over the world. And that's something we want to explore further, well knowing that many of these students will go back to their home countries, and that's a good thing. Some will stay here. I studied abroad, as you just heard, for 5 years. I came back to Germany, but I think that's an individual decision. But I think mobility itself is a good thing for the next generation. And that's why we are happy to provide all of this free, quote-unquote, free education to our international students. So the number of students is rising constantly. COVID has put a little dent into this development, but not much. And I think we will soon resume the previous curve. Next slide, please. Yeah, now what about doing internationalization as a strategy and not as an add-on? HRK, HRK, we are trying to provide some kind of services to help our members to develop, providing good practices, and also providing a service called the audit, the internationalization audit, where we go into a university that calls us and we look at what they have been doing so far, and we make recommendations how they could develop further. 103 universities have gone through this kind of audit, which also at HRK helps us to, as I said, develop good practices and benchmarks. So every one of our member universities can kind of see where they are in the national picture, where they are doing well and where they're doing not so well and where there's room for improvement. Next slide, please. What are goals? Here are some terms that try to summarize what I already kind of expressed. Internationalization is not a little department working on the side, but it's a process that permeates all functions and all areas of a university, including, of course, administration. We in Potsdam, or many of our member universities, find it very important to get administrators, also lower level administrators, get enthusiastic about internationalization and not seeing it as a burden that they have to provide some services or some forms in English, and that they have some processes that are maybe more complicated. Internationalization has to be an attractive thing also for our administrators, and that's why we also encourage administrators to participate in the exchange, visit some of our partner universities, and see what it's all about. That's, I think, what we mean by comprehensive. And then, of course, quality-oriented. I also mentioned that internationalization is not a goal by itself, but it's a means to provide better education to the next generation, to do better research, also for the public good. Of course, researchers have always been cooperated internationally, but I think as an institution, we can promote this, help establishing contacts, providing tools, starting with video conferencing tools and IT equipment to really make international research corporations natural thing to do and promote this actively, because it leads just to better services, also to better technology transfer. And Maybe we can talk about what internationalization means for spin-offs, for technology transfers, for startup cultures coming out of universities. There we also see more internationalization going on. Next slide, please. Responsibility and sustainability, especially the latter point, has gained a lot of momentum, of course, in the last couple of years, starting with the fact that we don't have to travel half across the planet for a 3-hour meeting. Having meetings like today's are a sign of also that we think about traveling. At the same time, of course, we know that doing everything from your office or from your living room is also not the right way to go, but the responsible design of ways to cooperate and ways to travel, I think that's an extremely important aspect. And there's also a kind of political component here on this slide, partners in liberal contexts. We all know, well, India and Germany are blessed. We'd be very clear about this with our current free democracies, but as we just heard again 2 days ago, some other countries have very different ideas about how to run the show. And but we think internationalization is even more important in critical times like this. And we, of course, cooperate with countries that are somewhat more difficult, starting with Turkey, starting with Iran, starting with Hungary. These are countries where Poland, these are countries nearby where the academic system is different than ours, and where democracies or the systems run differently. Now, of course, Russia, but we think that internationalization is even more important to keep the bridges open that are difficult to keep up in politics. Next slide, please. All right, I'm getting to my last couple of slides, focusing on Indo-German Corporation. Ms. Prasad has already mentioned that a lot of things are going on, so I don't have to read the slide to you. Many of these things you already know. Mobility works, lots of Indian students studying here in Germany, very lively exchange of scholars. And again, the fact that more and more universities in Germany are offering English language programs is really more of an attractor for students from India to come here. Then again, hopefully learn some German, but that is not kind of an entry condition to study here. Research, of course, in our labs is mostly performed in English anyway, so the language barrier should not be an issue. And I know that's the reason, of course, why many Indian students still prefer going to a mediocre, a bad American university than coming to us. And I think we should. Next slide, please. Yeah, I forgot to mention of course, the institute in New Delhi on the last slide that was listed as an important bridgehead. And I already mentioned the internationalization strategies that we are developing in Germany, and of course, we're doing similar things in India. One thing that is not on my slides that I should mention, however, is the excellence strategy of the German government, where the German federal government and state governments provide additional means for excellent research at German universities. And of course, there, the international cooperation with excellent partners in India play an important role. Actually, I mentioned to you that I was in India over New Year's, and I visited, among others, IIIT Roorkee, a wonderful partner that we work with in Potsdam. And these kind of corporations also help us in Germany to show and to do excellent research and to show to our funding agencies what we're doing. So what could we do? Well, some things have been mentioned already. Of course, some kind of mapping is always helpful for especially younger colleagues to see, and also students, which locations, which universities are good for my personal interests. So lots of things to do, and I'm looking forward to working with you on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Guntur, for your presentation and setting the stage for the discussion on cooperation in higher education and technical education between India and Germany. Now, we have just joined by the ambassador, His Excellency Parvatineni Harish. May I now introduce His Excellency Parvatineni Harish, Ambassador of India to Germany. He assumed charge in November 2021. Previously, Ambassador Harish was Additional Secretary Economic Relations in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, where he led the Economic Diplomacy Division that deals with bilateral economic relations of India with other countries. He also led the Multilateral Economic Relations Division and was the Indian South Sherpa for G20, G7, BRICS, and IPSA. Since joining the Indian Foreign Service in 1990, Ambassador Harish has learned Arabic at the American University of Cairo and passed the examination with distinction. He has served in the Indian missions in Cairo and Riyadh and headed the post as India's representative to the Palestinian Authority stationed in Gaza City. He worked in the East Asia and External Publicity Divisions in the Ministry of External Affairs. For a period of 5 years from 2007, Ambassador Harish was the Joint Secretary and Officer on Special Duty to the Honorable Vice President of India. He has been the Consul General of India in Houston during July 2012 to March 2016, covering 8 states of South and Southwest of USA. He was the Ambassador of India to the Socialist Republic of Vietnam from 2016 to 2019. Ambassador Harish is a gold medalist mechanical engineering graduate from Usmania University College of Engineering, Hyderabad, and has studied at the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. I now request His Excellency Ambassador Harish to give his remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and I want to thank all the participants who have joined here today. I apologize for being joining late. I'm actually out of Berlin and I'm joining in from Paris, where we have a meeting. I want to, at the outset, welcome you all and thank you for your participation in today's seminar coordinated by Dr. Reddy and the Embassy of India. I also want to thank all the heads of academic institutions and institutions of higher learning from India and from Germany who are taking part today. Welcome Dr. Varshney from the Department of Science and Technology and Professor Sahasrabuddhe, Honorable Chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education. Friends, this distinguished gathering here needs no introduction about the history of cooperation between India and Germany in academia and higher education. Our cooperation dates back to the 1960s, and we have had since then a very strong foundation for our cooperation between our universities and institutions of higher learning. We have over the years also signed many new agreements and memoranda of understanding on higher education and for promotion of modern Indian languages between our two countries. In the 3 months that I have been in Germany, I see a huge interest of Indian students in pursuing higher education in Germany. In the last 10 years, the number of Indian students has gone up from around 4,000 to over 30,000 today. The number is growing at 15 to 20% on an annual basis. In the last few years, Germany has emerged as an attractive destination for Indian students pursuing higher education, especially in the STEM disciplines. And many of them are even eager to explore opportunities for higher education in Germany, including at the undergraduate level. As part of the Global Initiative of Academic Networks of India, we have had 125 courses that were approved from Germany. We have had many visiting faculty from India who have come to Germany and vice versa. This distinguished audience from the Indian side is well versed of the new developments and policy framework since the passing of the National Education Policy last year. For our German colleagues, this is to emphasize that the National Education Policy brought in July 2020 brings about a new comprehensive framework for elementary education, higher education, and vocational training in both urban and rural settings. This is our previous national policy on education dating back to 1986. Now, this new policy a greater internationalization of higher education in India. It allows setting up of international students' offices in all higher education institutes, facilitating of research and teaching collaborations and faculty-student exchanges with foreign universities, facilitate signing of agreements between Indian universities and their foreign counterparts. It allows for regulations on academic bank of credits to promote flexibility and facilitate student mobility. So the University Grants Commission too has used this new framework and has allowed multiple entry and exit in the academic programs of Indian universities. It has brought about new guidelines for apprenticeship and internship and embedded them in degree programs. And has also allowed for facilitation of vocational education in deemed universities in India. And so our group for discussion, some suggestions for how we can enhance interaction between our universities and how we can bring about a greater internationalization in line with our new education policy. One, I think so far from India, it has been private universities and deemed universities that have taken the initiative in dual degree programs, where students study for 3 years in India in one of the STEM disciplines and 1 year in Germany, and at the end of it have a dual degree from both universities. This is a program that was very well received from Indian students because it enables them to get 1 year of academic experience in Germany. It gives them lead time to prepare for learning the German language in their second or third year in India and complete their German language study in the final year when they study in Germany. It enables them to understand the German employment and job landscape and opportunities for those who want to start their own enterprises and bring about startups in Germany. And it allows for greater innovation exchange at the graduate level. Many of them are joining in master's courses and in PhD courses. However, until last year, until we had the new education policy, we didn't have a suitable framework for bringing this about in public universities in India, both at the federal level and at the state level. That particular roadblock now goes away with the new education policy. And our state and federal universities in the public universities now have a policy framework to engage and have such dual degree programs with their German academic counterparts. So the proposal is for public universities in India who are participating and heads of German universities to explore possibilities for dual degree programs. Multiple benefits. I think when Indian students come to Germany, rather than go to their traditional destinations in US, UK, Australia, or Canada, I think, and the language issue and the familiarization with the German landscape issue is taken care of because of the final year of the year that they spend as part of the dual degree program. I think then they become employment ready for German industry. Large companies, German companies that operate in India and large Indian companies that operate in Germany are able to take care of themselves. But the Mittelstand and the MSME companies that we have frequently complain of inability to attract and retain talent or find the right talent for undertaking their operations. I will address this important need and this important segment where Mittelstand companies and MSMEs that are investing in each other's countries, Mittelstand in India and Indian MSMEs investing in Germany, will have the opportunity to recruit such students who are the dual degree programs because they know Germany very well, they know India very well, and they are already familiar with the German industrial landscape and with the German employment landscape. It also enables them to immediately to have their own startups and to seamlessly perform because they would have had familiarization during the 1 year that they spend in Germany. So I think this is one suggestion for your consideration. I would urge the distinguished participants today to discuss it. The second proposal is also to have an option for a bridge course, or what is called as a digital student colleague, to be made available also to Indian students. I understand there is a proposal for a pilot project in this regard, and we would request DART to take this proposal forward and to explore if Indian students can undertake the bridge course digitally. That would allow them from India without having to travel here, and would facilitate them joining undergraduate courses if they succeed and if they clear the bridge course. This would allow greater number of Indian students even courses. Some of our best and brightest Indian students are now go to their traditional destinations for undergraduate courses, primarily North America and to UK and Australia. I think our focus at the embassy is to make Germany, along with all of you, the heads of German universities and Indian universities, to make Germany an attractive destination for undergraduate courses too, because the quality of education is excellent. The only issue is the issue of language. And I think we can address that also if we undertake joint efforts to make this very attractive. I think we could also look at offering of scholarships, and we see how best we can minimize the logistics issues for Indian students who may wish to come to Germany for undergraduate programs. The third one, which is a kind of low-hanging fruit, is to explore the possibilities of summer courses. There is a lot of interest in Indian universities and STEM disciplines, especially for summer courses or for semester exchange programs. I think possibility to organize summer courses will have familiarization with the and know and thus to our PhD programs in Germany. I think increasing the German students and faculty in India is also an important objective. Let us see if we can also undertake an effort to make India attractive destination for German students too at postgraduate level and for researchers. That will also criteria for ranking of institutions of higher learning increasingly. Some of the suggestions I had for your consideration. The pandemic has impacted our interactions. The pandemic has really created problems in movement of students, faculty, and other academic exchanges. Many of them are going online. Hopefully, with the pandemic going down, the pandemic's footprint going down, we should be in a position to seriously explore some of these initiatives from this summer onwards. With these few words, I want to thank you for your presence, for your participation, and would strongly urge you to explore some of these initiatives to increase the interaction between our academic institutions. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Because of some bandwidth issue or technical issue, the third proposal, it was not very clear, but I understand you're talking about summer schools and winter schools, if I'm not wrong. That's the third proposal.
No, I was mentioning, sorry, about summer programs and semester exchange programs.
Okay, sir, we got it. Because that's the point which I think the panelists have missed. We'll continue our discussion. Thank you very much, sir, for your opening remarks, and it will set the stage for our discussions on dual degree courses and double degree courses. Thank you.
I apologize for the problems from my end, the technical problems. I'm not in my office. I'm not in Germany. I'm in Pakistan. Sorry for the technical issues. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now we will have the presentation by Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe, the Honorable Chairman of All India Council for Technical Education. Professor Sahasrabudhe is a Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, and Professor Sahasrabudhe has had several important academic, research, and administrative positions at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Tata Consultancy Engineers, Northeastern Regional Institute of Science and Technology, NERIST, Itanagar in Arunachal Pradesh, IIT Guwahati, College of Engineering in Pune, prior to joining AICT as Honorable Chairman. As an academician and researcher in NERIST and IIT Guwahati and as Director COEP, he has taken up several new initiatives for academic, curricular and co-curricular activities, entrepreneurship, research and good governance. He has been an architect of reforms in technical education at AICTE, which include mandatory student induction and internship, faculty certification and Atal faculty development programs, creating the first ever India's MOOC platform called SWAYAM, examination reforms, innovation movement, series of hackathons, Indian knowledge systems, new funding schemes for supporting students, faculty and institutes. Professor Sahasrabuddhe is Chairman, Basic Scientific Research, Empowered Committee of UGC and SWAYAM Board. He is a Fellow of ISTE, IIT Institution of Engineers, and INAE. Professor Sahasrabuddhe has been bestowed with several awards, which include Maha Entrepreneur Award of Praj Industries, Jeevan Gaurav Puraskar, Lifetime Achievement Award from MIT World Peace University, Pune in 2019, Mahatma Gandhi Leadership Award from Indian Achievers Forum and CSR Times. He has been conferred with Ravi J. Mathai National Fellow Award by AIMS. Professor Sahasrabuddhe now will set the tone for the technical education cooperation between India and Germany. May I now request Professor Sahasrabuddhe, please?
His Excellency Ambassador Harish, who has already set the tone for the discussions for today. And prior to that, from the Ministry, Joint Secretary Nita Prasad has also spoken some of the Indian perspectives in terms of new national education policy, the budgetary provisions. So what I'm going to say probably will be expansion of what both of these people have already said. So let me start with the Indo-German collaboration, which the ambassador rightly pointed out, started off right from 60s. And we have one of the IITs, IIT at Madras has been supported in its formative stages from Germany. And not only that, there are a large number of faculty in India who are all Humboldt fellows, and they have lifelong attachment with the Germany through the DAT. I think these are some of these initiatives which are already ongoing between India and in Germany. I remember the first of the winter academies, which the Honorable Ambassador mentioned, started off between German universities, that is premier T9 technical universities, and IIT Guwahati, IIT Kanpur, and IIT Kharagpur today is having all the IITs combined with the German universities, that mean technological universities. These winter academies keep happening. Unfortunately, during COVID, there has been a slight break in that. And the ministry also spoke about how engagement, especially internationalization, is happening through Gyan Global Initiative of Academic Networks, where faculty from various different countries, but in particular, many German professors have visited India in different institutions and delivered 1 week to 2 week lectures. Similarly, for joint collaborative research projects, we have SPARC, where multilateral, multi-educational institution projects are funded by the ministry. So all of this was passed and was an ongoing exercise. In between, the new national education policy came in during the pandemic. And a lot of emphasis has been laid on the internationalization. And internationalization is a two-way traffic, which the ambassador also rightly mentioned about how Indian students, by taking some bridge courses, learning some German course, and then also some test possibly, get admission in their undergraduate programs. But the reverse flow also should happen. It's not just in technical institutions, but even in other institutions in India. And therefore, we are already developing a one-stop portal called, what we will call it as Study in India, but Study India, the name of the portal, which is under development, and very, shortly this will be launched, wherein information about all Indian institutions who take in foreign students will be available. So the choice will be of that of the student in terms of looking at the nature of the courses, the level of the institution, the ranking, the accreditation status, the quite number of activities that happen in that institution apart from the normal curriculum, and thereby students can take a choice which is based on due diligence. That is what is also being undertaken. But in the new policy itself, which both Nita Prasad as well as Ambassador Harish mentioned, is about how the universities are getting transformed into multidisciplinary universities. Many of these institutions which were earlier monodiscipline, they are all converting themselves into multidisciplinary universities. Thereby, a student will get a taste of holistic education. And that is very, very important in education sector. Not only from the perspective of employability, but as a citizen anywhere in the world. You know, the purpose of life of the student after he graduates is to contribute towards the society. And how do we make it happen? Unless a student of technical education also takes care of some of the courses in humanities and social sciences, maybe management, maybe law, he will become holistic. And that's the one purpose which is very, very important. There has been multiple entry exit which has been promoted in this particular policy, which is very important. In a small way, we were already allowing students who had done diploma. I think when I'm talking to German audience, we should have a slight difference in what they called earlier Diplom, which used to be a fully 5-year integrated program, which was almost like a master's program in engineering. But we have, after grade 10, class 10, 3-year diploma program. Such students, if they wish to do engineering degree program, we were already allowing them to get entry directly into the second year. And although the engineering program itself is of 4-year duration, they will complete it in 3 years with some bridge courses. You know, mention of bridge courses was done because sometimes these diploma students will have less, you know, intake in terms of the science content, you know, physics, chemistry, mathematics, whereas they are more hands-on. So they may be given some waivers in some courses, but they must do little more of mathematics, physics, chemistry, thereby they become holistic engineers. So this kind of a multi-exit, multi-entry system already existed in some form, but this is going to take a bigger route in terms of what is known as academic bank of credits. Every student, right from his grade 8, 9, 10, whatever courses someone is doing, will be accumulated in the account of the student. So it is like an account where money is deposited, similar to that, credits are deposited. A student can go to another institution within the country or even go abroad. We were talking about one semester student exchange programs. A student may go and earn about 15, 20 credits from a German university and comes back. It will get recorded in the academic bank of credits and will be made use of for the completion of the credit requirement for the degree program. So I think this is a very vital change which is happening in India in terms of the new national education policy. Another initiative which the budget has also pronounced is about digital university. We already had an experience of in technical education, NPTEL, which started off more than about 1.5 decades ago itself, and also had virtual labs where simulation-based experiments being conducted through the portal, and then students will be in a position to engage in even laboratory type of experimental classes. But more importantly, the starting of the MOOC platform, Swayam, and now the second version of that, Swayam 2.0, where slowly and steadily we can have plug and play type, whereas any MOOC platform anywhere in the world can get onboarded onto our portal and the exchange of credits will be easily possible. I think this is another area which is a work in progress. The extension of that would possibly be something like a digital university which will come in existence. So student, by being at home, you know, at different places in India, has a large number of villages, you know, about 6.5 lakh villages, and all of them cannot afford to come to a formal education system in a city, stay with their expenses on hostel and living expenses. They can get degrees from the best of the possible universities through a digital medium, and that is what the new policy talks about. And this is where I think my appeal to the German counterpart, faculty, professors, as well as the heads of the institutions over there, can we make some collaborative possibility of conducting classes together jointly? Because today the difference in time zone would be hardly 4 hours. So maybe our afternoon classes and their morning classes, can we match them and then get some online classes of German universities right at our Indian, as well as similarly our classes from some, say, Indian Institute of Science or IIT going to the German universities. I think this is a possibility which has been evoked because of pandemic. You know, I remember our faculty development programs under what is known as AICT's Training and Learning Academy for training faculty in emerging areas of technology like AI, IoT, machine learning, robotics, 3D printing, blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, cyber security was happening in physical space for 50 people in one workshop for 5 days. Today, we can have for such a workshop more than 200 participants in an online mode. And experts are drawn from not just from within India in the neighboring institutions, but all across the globe, right from the, as I say, far east of Australia, New Zealand, Japan to as far west as Canada or USA, and also, of course, entire Europe. And many of these experts were drawn from academic institutions as well as from industry. And we had created 2 world records in the 2 consecutive pandemic years by training 150,000 and 200,000 faculty members in these emerging areas. So when this is possible, why not our regular courses also can be taken online? This is a new idea which we should practice, and then probably transfer of credits can also happen. We have a Smart India Hackathon, which is another experience of ours of solving problems of the government, problems of the society, problems of the citizenry in terms of making the life better. And for that, we had not only national level hackathons for the last 5 years, solving problems of the society, the government, but also had India-Singapore Hackathon, India-ASEAN Hackathon, India-Africa Hackathon is in the pipeline. So Germany is also so great in a lot of hardware, and we have also got software industry here. So why can't we have some hackathon where a product is created during those hackathon period, maybe 36 hours to 48 hours, when students will create a product which is both hardware and software joined together. The strengths of both the countries can be made use of. As far as the internships are concerned, we have an internship portal where a lot of industry has already onboarded, and some of the German industry also is coming forward to provide internship opportunities for our Indian students. I hope some of the German students come here in India for some of these internships. I think we have a long way to go in terms of collaboration, and there are lots of opportunities. And the COVID, although there was a crisis, has given us a lot of opportunities to engage and move forward. And let us hope in the few months to come, we'll have much more concrete results out of our engagements, and we'll start working together. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your opening remarks and setting the stage for technical education cooperation between India and Germany. We are running little behind the schedule. I would like to request the panelists to speak for 5 to 6 minutes. Now we will have the presentation by Dr. Herbert Grishoff. He's the Director of International Affairs, Free University Berlin. Dr. Grishoff started his career with Free University Berlin as Director of the newly founded Strategic Center for International Cooperation in 2009. And since April 2015, he has been in charge of the university's Division for International Affairs, which comprises now the CAC. Among the tasks of the division are the strategic planning and organization of all university-wide international activities, mobility programs for students and scientists, the responsibility for a global network of high liaison officers in Beijing, Cairo, Delhi, Moscow, and Sao Paulo. The university's alumni relations, as well as the programs for threatened scholars, refugee students, and the preparatory courses of the university student college. Before his time at FU Berlin, Dr. Grishoff was in charge of the British Council's education and science team in Germany, and he also worked as cultural specialist for the US Embassy in Berlin. From 1994 to 2000, he was a lecturer in the German Department of University College London, funded by the DAD. Dr. Grishoff studied German literature, history, and philosophy at Göttingen and Berkeley, and got his doctoral degree from University of Göttingen in modern German literature. Now request Professor Grishoff and set the tone. He is also the in charge of University Student College. So, Dr. Grishoff, please.
Well, thank you very much for the very friendly introduction, and thank you very much for inviting Freie Universität to this really important meeting. I hope you can all understand me good, very well. It seems to work, or should I be louder? It's okay. Okay, it's difficult now to add something to what has already been said. Because I don't want to repeat too much of what the others have said, and I also want to try to restrict myself to the 5 minutes. I mean, Freie Universität has been running various cooperation projects over the last years in different categories with Indian partners through the Indo-German Partnerships, which was funded by DAD and the University Grants Commission. I think all sorts of things happened there, and unfortunately always in this sort of project logic that is sort of after sort of 3 or 4 years, usually the projects were finished. But I think that we had a certain amount of activity there. We have some very close partnerships in India with Indian universities in Delhi and Mumbai and Hyderabad and Bangalore. We do have a liaison office in Delhi since 2008, one of the few offices there, and we founded it because we always thought that India is one of the emerging science nations, and that we need to intensify our cooperation with our partners over there, and also to attract students. I have to say that in attracting students, that has been a huge success now over the last years, and some of the other speakers mentioned that already, and that has happened at Freie Universität too, despite the fact that we don't have an engineering faculty. The numbers of Indian students have, I think, quadrupled over the last 10 years. It's just amazing how many Indian students, and particularly doctoral students, come to Freie Universität now. So that has been a huge success, and our professors are happy with this clientele. And in a way, I think these students, the Indian students who are doing their degrees now, either a master's degree or their PhD at Freie Universität, they are my greatest hope for the future, for the intensification of research. Because on the other side, what we haven't managed over the last years, or not to the degree we wanted to manage, is to increase the interest of our researchers. That has to do with some of the topics that are represented at our universities, but I think we had very fruitful cooperation in subjects such as theater sciences, in environmental studies, and political science. But altogether, considering how big India is, how many fantastic institutions there are, I think we didn't have the success that we wanted in terms of bringing our researchers into cooperations with India. That's one thing where we think we need to improve from our side, and where we actually have to do more active marketing for India within our institutions. The other point where I would say we have really failed at every corner is student exchange. I mean, our student exchanges with India, for some reason, there are obvious reasons: academic calendar, systematic barriers, different cost schemes, different demands, non-reciprocity. But it's just, like our student exchange with India doesn't work, whereas the recruitment from India works fantastically. So what we need, on the other side, or in terms of perspectives for the future, the first thing is, of course, that it's wonderful that we have all these systematic parallels between Germany and India. We do have two strong systems, science and university systems, that are that are purpose institutions who serve democratic needs. We are not generally money-making machines, but really interest in the cooperation, in the mutual collaboration. So there is a lot of synergy, and we have similar systems. I think the language barrier can be handled because, other speakers have said it. The German system is getting more English, at least at the master's and doctoral level, and that seems to help, as we can already see. So there is a lot of potential. We also, I want to just mention one point, particularly today, because it's such an I think I have to mention it because I'm still shocked, because it's a day where in Europe, for the first time, a major war has broken out, and our partner institutions in the Ukraine are being bombarded. And I see a lot of cooperation in our interdisciplinary research, particularly when it comes to democracy, policy, Western values, and so on. We have a massive research cluster at Freie University. It's called Scripts, and so their title is Contentations of the Liberal Script. And this is, of course, something, this research consortium analyzes why the liberal model of order and democracy has fallen into such a crisis, despite all its huge political, economic, and social achievements. and they analyze in various research teams and investigate why alternative concepts of social order are on the rise. And I do think this particular research cluster has decided to work particularly close with one university in India, the JNU in Delhi, and they will have a massive conference in September where 30 or 40 of our researchers will come over to India. And I think this is really to the point at the moment. We really have to think about how we can strengthen democracy, academic freedom, and the values of the West. And, you know, India, as the biggest democracy in the world, should be one of our most esteemed partners worldwide. And I think on a day like today, where we see, you know, shocking things that we never had expected would happen, I never expected to happen in my lifetime again, I think that's important. So what I would take, or what I would do as a consequences of this meeting, is really make marketing for India as the research destination, make marketing for the biggest democracy in the world, make marketing for institutions that are public sector institutions. So this is what I want to do, and this is what I can say at the moment. And I love all the other suggestions. I want to say the other speaker, digital courses with Indian universities, collaborative online learning. This is something I would like to develop as well. And this is where we have conversations with partners as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amrit, for your nice presentation and for your suggestion that you will be acting as a marketing for India. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the next speaker. We are just joined by Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Varshney, who is the advisor and head of International Cooperation Division at Department of Science and Technology. Dr. Varshney was earlier the consular at the Embassy of India in Moscow. He has been contributing to promotion of international scientific cooperation as well as scientific industrial cooperation. Dr. Varshney is Indian co-chair, governing body, Indo-German Science and Technology Center, member of Board of Directors, Global Innovation and Technology Alliance, and is a member of governing councils of Indo-US Endowment Fund, International Advanced Research Center of Powder Metallurgy, US-India Education Foundation. He is also a member of Board of Research Studies in Department of Geology, Aligarh Muslim University. Now, Dr. Varshney is a Life Fellow of Geological Society of India, Bangalore, and Nepal Geological Society, Kathmandu. I now request Dr. Varshney to give his remarks.
Madhu, and namaskar to everyone. My pleasure to be part of this discussions on education. And I come from Department of Science and Technology, which does not cover entire spectrum of education, but we are restricted in our focus on promotion of research in scientific domain, or if you could say in STEM area. So that is the limitation within which I would be talking. And all our proposals, all our schemes, what we are looking for is this. So first of all, I would like to mention about a new opportunity which we have created. So very recently, we have signed a new agreement with German Research Foundation, DFG, on creation of international research and training groups. Now, this provides for a long-term inter-institutional connections. So idea is if we could give them two consecutive terms of 4.5 years each. Why I'm using 2 terms? Because we would like to review, and if it is found progressing well, then of course we'll recommend second term also. But subject to the progress, we have kept it deliberately in 2 parts, and then we would like number of institutions and number of research publication which should come out of it. So that is first thing, and I hope this program, which we are calling IRTG, would provide some of our institutions a head-on start to partner with their German counterpart institutions in a given theme. And we would like to cover all themes in which DST is participating. And the support would be provided for hiring manpower, that is students. And these students could go freely to each other's laboratories. So this call would remain open round the year, but we would be considering proposals in each February and each September. So that's the cycle. So now, since February cycle is we have just announced it, so it would be first consideration would be in September, and I invite all the educational institutions to make use of these opportunities. Now, Ambassador mentioned about short-term courses, summer courses. So DST has a provision of providing several kind of exposure visit to Germany. So these are primarily like our students are participating in Lindau meeting at Nobel laureate meeting at Lindau. Our students are making use of the opportunities available under Indo-German research projects, which are jointly supported by DST and DART, DST and DFG. So they could make those use of those opportunities. In addition, recently, Indo-German Science and Technology Center has announced 3 specific schemes. One is women involvement in science, education, and research. And we would like to bring in, this is an aim to work toward gender equality, where we could bring in more and more female participants to the research projects, and they could take on some of the, they could join some of the ongoing projects so that they could be part of this thing. We have also launched a program where students could work in industries, and up to 3 to 6 month exposure in industries has been programmed, and already we have identified first batch of those students. In fact, just earlier this week, we announced the first batch. 20 students have been selected in the first batch for this fellowships from India and from Germany. And we hope that they will be moving, like German students would be coming to Indian industries and Indian students would be going to German industries. So we are going to provide that platform. One more thing which we have started, instead of doctoral fellowship, is Dr. Shastrabudhe also talked about. We have started something what is called paired fellowship. So what we are asking research student, especially doctoral student, they should find a pair. They should form a pair. So they should dig on research journals, find out who are the potential German researchers, so who could come in India, and so they would be complementing each other, and Indian researchers would be working in the German laboratory and German researchers would be working in Indian laboratory. So these 3 programs which we have recently launched. In addition, we are open and for consideration of advanced schools. Suppose any of the institution would like to have 2 or 3 week advanced training. We are doing it with UK, we are doing it with US, and we would be happy to do it with Germany, provided some German agency is willing to shoulder responsibility along with us on the logistics, on the finances. And I hope our academic institution would find it very useful to organize training schools for 2 or 3 weeks. I think these are some of the opportunities which we have already created, and we would be looking for your suggestions also, what additional things we could work it out. I know there is a huge interest between India and Germany to pursue collaboration at different stages, not only in humanities, social sciences, engineering, technical educations, medicine, and within our domain of Department of Science and Technology, we would be happy to provide any support and create new scheme in consultation with our German friends. Thank you. Thank you, Madhu.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Now we will move on to the next presentation by Professor Dr. Engineer Dieter Leonard, who is the President of Hochschule für Technik and Wirtschaft, University of Applied Sciences, Saarland. Professor Leonhard studied at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, KIT, and in Grenoble at the École Nationale Supérieure de Hydraulique et de Mécanique. After completing his doctorate in Karlsruhe, he began his professional career as a project engineer and worked for several companies, including Salzburg. In 1995, he was appointed Professor of Urban Water Management and Hydromechanics at Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences where he was, among other things, founding dean of the Department of Architecture, Civil Engineering and Surveying. In 2004, he was appointed vice president of the Franco-German University of Applied Sciences at Saarbrücken, where he subsequently served as president from 2006 to 2008. In 2008, he moved to the Mannheim University of Applied Sciences, where he led as rector in his second mandate until the end. Professor Gerhard is, among other things, the long-standing spokesman of the German University Consortium for International Cooperation, which is DHIK, chairman of the Southwest Federation of Universities and the Association of German Engineers in the Rhine-Neckar-Pfalz district. Among other things, he works as a consultant for the universities of Normandy on behalf of the region. We now request Professor Gerhard to give his presentation.
Well, thank you very much to everybody, and in particular, thank you very much for this kind invitation and having the possibility to present perhaps something that follows exactly the arguments and the ideas of His Excellency Ambassador Hanisch. And I prepared a short presentation. It's perhaps easier to understand it by a visual way, but I have the same problem as Mrs. Wallace. I need the permission to upload it. And I sent the backup, Dr. Reddy, I sent the backup of the slides to you. So if you agree, if it's easier for you, just take the backup slides. It's both okay for me.
You can try uploading it, and then if not, then I'll.
Okay, because I cannot present.
Yeah, you can please go ahead and upload, Professor Leonard.
No, I'm not allowed. Could be. No, sorry. I think that's a problem of the firewalls, as far as I see. If it's possible to use the backup,
just a minute.
Yeah. If not, I present it in an oral way.
I'm just trying to upload.
Thank you very much for this support.
Please do that. So we are uploading it. Sorry for the technical hitch. Mr. Toast will upload the file now. He's uploading it from the other computer.
Yes. So what I'm intending to show you is a particular activity in the Indo-German context that is already existing, ending up with perhaps some ideas on possible perspectives. And the key of this activity is that in Germany, a large network formed comprising 37 universities, mainly universities of applied sciences. So a little bit, I think I'm a little bit the black swan here. 37 University of Applied Sciences, Professor Günther knows that is representing nearly 40% of the HRK Universities of Applied Sciences. So it's a quite large network. So this network is involved in transnational higher education in various aspects. The oldest baby is the Sino-German Corporation, where we are responsible for now 25 years experience with a Sino-German University of Applied Sciences, which is STEM focused, which is industry focused, which of course is interculturally focused on the needs of the students, which is located at Shanghai at the Tongji University. There's a similar project driven by the research universities, so a sister project. Which means that we have a large experience of organizing 2 double degrees. Oh, thank you. There is hope. Yes, perfect. Oh, thank you very much. And so again, the idea is to show a particular activity, the Indo-German Center for Higher Education, that is already existing, but I wanted to add a little bit background. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Yeah, this is the visualization of the network on the German side. You see it's really a large participation and a large interest of German universities in transnational education. Let me just see whether I'm allowed. No, I'm not allowed to go to the next slide. Yes, thank you. And gives you in a very short way the key idea that we try to give an added value for the member universities just by bundling and sharing resources. We heard already on some particular expert, and that it can be a challenge to organize transnational higher education due to different regulations. And it proved to be very, very helpful that we are able to bundle this experience and to share the experience between the member universities. The key of our activities up to now is that we are only involved in true double degrees or in joint programs. Joint programs, sometimes it's easier to overcome certain hindering limits due to accreditations. It's not restricted to Germany. You see, we have as well as Switzerland members, so we are quite happy to have this university from Switzerland. And I want to draw your attention to the three main projects. There are more activities, but the three pillar projects are the oldest one, so it's chronological. The oldest one is what I mentioned, the Sino-German University in Shanghai, the Tongji, with 25 years experience now, a true double degree. And I come back to the architecture of the program a little bit later with an Indian focus. We have a sister project in Mexico, which is mainly located at a Technology de Monterrey, as well a very well reputed university in Latin America, which follows more or less the same idea. Latin America proved to be a little bit even bit more complicated than China for the cooperation in an organizational way, and of course only not touching now any political issue. That's a different consideration. Of course, there we have the guidelines of the German Rectors Conference, which we regularly check. We are only involved in engineering degrees up to now, and slowly opening to the business field or to other fields that had already been mentioned previously by one of the speakers. And now I come to the Indo-German Center for Higher Education, which offers STEM programs, double degree STEM programs. Next slide, please. You see the computer science, electrical, mechanical, mechatronics, engineering. So the classical subjects, and you see below the present partners on the Indian side. Please don't take this as a closed shop list. I come back to this point a little bit later when presenting some first ideas on a future development. Just to give you an idea that we have already partners, we are already present in India. We have a certain India experience. The program is running now for 12 years, quite successfully. And next slide, please. That gives you an impression. It's exactly what His Excellency, the Ambassador, presented as key idea introducing us to the conference. We have indeed 4 years bachelor degrees. The only difference is that, and this is an experience we have from the two other projects, it's very helpful to start the language preparation of the students in their home country. So the key idea is to offer 800 to 1,000 hours German language training as integral part of the program. And then the students are welcomed in Germany, integrated to the German universities. And I think it's really important to have this full immersion on both sides. I described it as hoping not to be misunderstood as being really nationals, that they are considered as being students of our institutions. And of course, many of them go then back to India, and I hope we have close links to the industry in India, German industry in India on one side, but as well the Indian industry in Germany, where we need, in both cases, interculturally trained students. Important share of the students continue then in German research universities, going back to India after their masters or their doctorate. Next slide, please. This gives you an impression of the German partners. So not the whole network is involved in each project. This comes a little bit back on the point that we try to reduce the complexity. So we always have leading universities which gather the experience, which are literally the head of the operation. Next slide, please. Which leads me to some perspective. So we have 12 years running experience. And the short-term perspective that we are discussing with the embassy, with Dr. Reddy is involved, with the DAD, German Academic Exchange Service is involved, or the Federal Research Minister is involved, the member universities, of course, that we want, with what we have already, target for a significant increase in exchange numbers, by integrating additional partners as well on the German side, as perhaps as well on the Indian side, if it's possible, if it's wished, if it fits to both needs. Of course, we always discuss the needs in the STEM disciplines, but I agree entirely what had been already said by Indian speakers, by German speakers. It's perhaps the moment to integrate further disciplines in social sciences, in business field. So we are open to that. But I'm an engineer from the background, as Dr. Reddy mentioned, so I prefer always to start with a precise project, and then to scale, and not to start with a huge windmill and then to state that it's not running. Of course, a strong wish is to foster more German outgoings to India as well. On the student side, we have fly-in faculty, so we have colleagues with India experience. And an idea, that's my personal idea, I think we could, for example, share within this large consortium some India competence modules. And of course, we need support from the Indian side to develop such competence modules to prepare German students and German staff to India. Due to our size, we are able to share this. We do this successfully, for example, for the China competence modules. So it's developed once and then shared to others, which proves to be quite effective. But on the medium and long term, we're even more ambitious. So we start thinking on, and that's really what I share now with you, is a very first idea, developing the Indo-German Center for Higher Education to a true Indo-German University of Applied Sciences. And of course, this needs some work. We need a steady representation in India, in this case, certainly, as we have it in Shanghai or in Monterey. And we are quite hopeful that we can profit from our long experience in other geometries to overcome the starting questions in a quite efficient way. And it would be fantastic to have more contact with you and with your universities on such a matter, knowing that it's a long way. We need to be patient, and we have to invest constant and important part of work to get such a project run. But for me personally, it would be an interesting challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Leonard, for your presentation and setting the tone for Indo-German University, binational university in India. Thanks for setting the tone. Now we will move on to the next presentation by Professor Subhashish Chaudhary, the Director, Institute of Technology, Bombay. Professor Chaudhary is K.N. Bajaj Chair, Professor, Department of Electrical Engineering. He did his BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering from IIT Kharagpur in 1985 and MSc in Electrical Engineering from University of Calgary in 87 and PhD in Electrical Engineering in 1990 from University of California, San Diego. He joined IIT as Assistant Professor in Department of Electrical Engineering in November 1990 and held a number of positions at IIT Bombay, such as Professor in charge of IIT Bombay Monash Research Academy, Head of Department of Electrical Engineering, Dean International Relations, and Deputy Director Academic and Infrastructure Affairs. Professor Chaudhary has received several major awards recognizing his excellence in research, which include the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize, Swarna Jayanti Fellowship, Sir J.C. Bose Fellowship, and the Vikram Sarabhai Award, among several others. And his connection to Germany is Professor Chaudhary was conferred with the prestigious title of TU Munich Ambassador by Technical University of Munich, Germany. He is a fellow of Indian National Science Academy, Indian Academy of Sciences, Indian National Academy of Engineering, National Academy of Science, India, and IEEE USA. He has served on the councils of INSA, INEE, and has organized and he has been recognized as a distinguished alumnus of IIT Kharagpur. He has over 100 journals and 200 conference publications with more than 9,000 citations. He has authored 7 monographs and filed 13 national and international patents. He has guided several PhD students and many MTech students. May I now request Professor Chaudhary to make his presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Professor Gunter, His Excellency Mr. Harish, and the other distinguished colleagues here on board. I've been listening to it quite intensely about the kind of discussion that is going on how to connect India with Germany in terms of higher education, and which is now, of course, a big priority for Indian government as well as all the higher educational institutions in India. IIT Bombay, being the #1 institution from India in QS ranking, as well as being one of the institute of eminence, I must tell you that we are probably at a much more fortunate space in terms of having done with many such collaborative research as well as the educational program with German universities, several of them part of TU9 and many others of them. But there are a lot of opportunities. So first I'll give you very briefly the kind of thing that IIT Bombay has been doing with German institutions, right? So we have been one of the earliest, I think, supporter of the DID sponsored, the sandwich program that happens with the TU9, along with many other partner universities here. And it also is very nicely that we are thankful to DID for supporting a large number of our neighboring, students from our neighboring countries to come to IIT Bombay, particularly from Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, to leverage India as well as the German universities to get them education right here at IIT Bombay. So we are very thankful to DID for that. We also participate many of these DST, DFG, the collaborative projects. We have large number of visiting professorship positions that are going on between our people going to German universities as well as hosting German professors. We are part of various Erasmus Mundus programs, okay? And I'm also happy to note that there is a large number of exchange students who come regularly from Germany. And of course that helps us because our students are very keen to play soccer with them because they are always very good, okay? So on the other hand, if you really look into the other international engagement, and that I'm telling you because what are the possibilities that could exist? IIT Bombay, along with the Monash University in Australia, it runs the world's possibly the largest joint degree PhD program. And every year it produces like 35 to 40 PhD students and totaling about more than 200 PhD students till death, okay? We also run various joint degree programs with many US universities like, as well as universities in Singapore. And these are joint degree program and also the Cochutel program, the degrees. The reason I bring it here is that I do see quite a bit of opportunities, okay, in leveraging the German universities and IITs, NITs, and many other universities that we have. University of Hyderabad, I think this is here, and several of them. There are a lot of opportunities. I myself have visited several summers in Germany as a visiting professorship, and I can attest the quality of education that is being imparted there, and the research particularly, which probably I was most there. And I even taught in one of the, international master's program at the TU Munich, okay, for one semester that I taught in English. Now, given this set of kind of relationship that exists between, let's say, IIT Bombay, or as a matter of fact, that being a symbol of, let's say, Indian education system as well as with Germany. Now, what are the things that we could possibly take it for the next higher level? That's what I think is an important point that we should discuss, okay? Now, there are a lot of opportunities. And one of the things I would like to mention that nobody has mentioned as yet, but from the Indian side, but I see that a great opportunity is that the government of India, okay, has launched a $10 billion initiative on the semiconductor, industry. And that's where I think a lot of things are going to happen. And I tell you that in the area of semiconductor technology, what we do in India is the third largest number of publications that it comes out in journal like the IEEE transactions on electronic devices, which has come out in last 10 years. Before that, it was at a distant 12th or 13th place. So which means there is a large ecosystem in India. And Germany being a very good institution where actually you have a lot of fab and many other things that exist, I think there's a lot of opportunity, okay? And this is where I understand that TSMC and others in different places, they are very keen to connect, because in India needs to generate something like 45,000 manpower. Out of that, we expect 5,000, okay, PhDs to be produced in this area alone, okay? So there is a lot of opportunity, okay? And I think we can leverage the German strength, okay, which we are very strong. Other area that where we should work, which is also, I would tell you that if we are not producing that many, I think, researchers or I would say that people who are trained in that is in the AI and machine learning area. Even though Indian industry is roughly in the third in the world in terms of producing as an industrial output using the machine learning technique. So there is a lot of opportunity in doing collaborative kind of teaching and research in that area of AI and machine learning. Energy is another area, because if you look at it today, and I think this connects to the first one, we have like renewable energy, just like in one aspect is very important. We put a lot of emphasis. I think the government of India has also put a lot of emphasis, including things like e-mobility and others, which is actually one of the prime areas that the government has been working. And that, if you understand, is now very much in, I would say that even though we put a lot of emphasis, but it is on a somehow not doing well internationally because the shortage in the chip, because the chip manufacturing has come down. And that's why I think the Indian government also is very keen that we actually have this kind of work in India so that we can leverage, and then all the automobile sector, particularly on the electronic side, they can benefit. So we would very like to, put our hands together with our colleagues in Germany. And the last one, before I stop, because we have a shortage of time, is on the entrepreneurship. Friends, I think we are at a point where in Indian education system, if you look at it, we have done a lot of, bottom of the pyramid manpower generation, then the research. But what matters, where Germany is very good, okay, is actually connecting to the industry, okay? You are very well connected with the industry, and they are almost like, into your academic system, whereas we are not there as yet. So what we could do, because see, if you look at it, that IIT Bombay runs India's first academic, the incubator that we have, and actually have been pretty successful. And we have been working with some of the German universities like TU Brunswick and others to see that, formally train people in entrepreneurship as well as help them into developing a kind of a, their journey into entrepreneurship by saying that, okay, can you have a startup? Let's have a TRL booster in the system, okay, so that many of the research ideas get translated. So I think we need this kind of collaborative effort so that we can put our hands together, okay, which is something that I think I added to rest of the thing. Of course, I agree with what has been discussed here, but I think if we do it together, I think there are a lot of benefit that both Germany and India can actually leverage together. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary, and for introducing the four elements of technical cooperation in the areas of semiconductor, AI, ML, energy, mobility, and entrepreneurship. Thank you very much. And now we will move on to the next speaker, Dr. Nicole Savarshik. She is the Managing Director of Technical University 9 Alliance, which is German Institutes of Technology, IFO. The TU9 Alliance speaks on behalf of engineering and the natural sciences and acts as an advocacy group among partners from science, industry, and politics. On a European and international level, TU9 networks, Technical University 9 networks with other associations of technical universities and discusses international university policy matters. Dr. Severshek is an experienced science manager. Before heading the TU9 Berlin office, she headed the strategy department at the University of Freiburg, Germany. She holds a doctoral degree in biology from the University of Wolfsburg. May I now request Dr. Nicole Severshek to make a presentation, please?
Well, thank you very much for the kind introduction and for the invitation. And thank you very much for actually organizing this opportunity to exchange opinions and ideas on the Indo-German higher education and technical education. And congratulations to your 75th anniversary. Looking at the time and having listened to all the other speakers who've already, I think, painted a broad and very profound picture of what has been going on in those long years of successful cooperation between Indian and German higher institutions. And considering that there are many more faces I see that I would love to listen to their opinions, of course, especially some of my colleagues from TU9 universities who have more profound and many more years of specific experience with Indian-German cooperation. I'll keep this short. TU9 universities are leading technical universities in Germany. We do have a broad topics. We do have social sciences, but of course our main focus, especially under the umbrella of the Alliance, is on STEM, engineering, natural sciences. And this is also a big focus in our Indian-German cooperation projects. The IITs, the Indian Institutes of Technology, are natural partners here. It has been mentioned before that the whole framework of education in Germany and India is very comparable. The big democracies, the focus on education as a benefit on its own, and the approach that comes from that, I think gives us a great framework to work together in many different forms. TU9 as an umbrella, as an alliance, has a few MOUs for many years with mainly IITs that give the framework, but the big projects obviously are from our universities with Indian Institutes of Technology and university. We've just looked it up, I think, on an institutional level, which of course are the big corporations. We have roughly 60 corporations among us, and then of course hundreds of smaller programs on student exchange programs, research projects in various fields. What we look at, I think, or what's one of our main focus is the TU9 universities as a whole, and also looking towards India, is the research topics that come from looking at the United Nations sustainability goals. Like, those are the big topics, the topics of the future for sustainability. To maybe name a few examples of new projects that are just starting, are about to start. Of course, I see Professor Havel here in the middle of my screen, actually, is the big project where the RWTH Aachen is part of, the ABCD, which is, let me think, there's my page. The Global Water and Climate Adaptation Center. It's a cooperation of the IIT Madras and Bangkok and the RWTH Aachen and the TU Dresden. So that's under under the big headline of sustainability goals. We do have small but very valuable projects as well. The COSPI project that has been running for many, many years, that offers students from Indian institutes of technology scholarships and the opportunity to complete a project work as part of their master's thesis under the guidance of a German professor at one of the technical universities. It's very successful, but it's small and smart, and it leads in many cases to COSPI fellows starting their PhD at a technical university in Germany. So those are also, I think, important programs that are planting seeds for international projects, because there you have these individuals with like an Indian-German and research experience that are then the players who are interested and motivated to work on bigger projects and bring bigger projects to life. So I'm very excited to be here, and it's very interesting to listen to all these different opinions, to new ideas that are coming up. Some of them I haven't heard yet, and I'll leave the floor to the other speakers, and I'm looking forward to the other important information that you'll share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole, for your presentation. Now we will move on to the next speaker, Dr. Katya Lash, who is the director of DAD office in Delhi. Dr. Lash, as I said, is the director of the DAD regional office in Delhi. She was responsible for coordination and strategic development of the DAD activities in India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. She also heads the German Center for Research and Innovation, New Delhi, and is responsible for its strategic management. The DWH New Delhi connects the German and Indian research and innovation ecosystem. It is a platform for thematic exchange and networking. It provides information and advice on the research landscapes, funding opportunities, international research cooperation, and current developments in science and policy. Before her work in India, Katya Lash headed the DAD's International Research Marketing Division at the head office in Bonn and DAD Information Center in Bucharest, Romania. During her tenure in Bonn, she was responsible for developing and implementing the marketing campaign Research in Germany. She holds a doctorate in history and is also qualified in business administration. May I now request Dr. Katya Lash to make her presentation, please?
Yes, Dr. Reddy, thanks so much, and apologizes for joining the meeting a bit later, but we have an Indo-German Research Day running at the moment with more than 2,000 participants, and we had a panel to run over there. First of all, let me congratulate you, Dr. Reddy, and the Indian Embassy for the initiative of the Indian government to commemorate the 75 years of independence with this meeting, and it shows the importance of academic cooperation, which is long-standing between India and Germany. So I would like to congratulate you, and I'm happy to see a lot of faces I know in this meeting. Ms. Habe is in the screen. We met in India, we met in Germany, and I'm glad that we can discuss the future of Indo-German cooperation. But I would also like to mention that the panel of today presents only one part. Just looked it up, more than 460 cooperation projects are registered in the database of the Rectors Conference. So it's just a selected circuit here, let me say that. With the NEP, and I think it was related to that in the meeting earlier, the Indian government has put international scientific cooperation high on the agenda. It's for the first time that we see that in an official document, internationalization is playing a role, and there are measurements taken now on a central level. Also, the elected government of Germany has affirmed the necessity of international cooperation. It has highlighted the necessity of approaching Asia and to build up the Asian competences about Asia in Germany. We as DAD, we have been present for 62 years in India, and we are currently running 5 offices in 4 cities. And no, don't be afraid, I will not drop all the research and cooperation projects we are financing and running in this meeting. Just let me highlight a couple of numbers, and then I would like to take up 6 points where we and I see the future of higher education cooperation as DAD. So we promote Germany as a research and study location through a lot of events, more than 250 events with 30,000 participants over the last year. And I think the increasing number of Indian students in Germany is part of that effort, but also part of the universities, of course, who are also hosting these students. We foster the individual exchange program. The COSPI program has just been mentioned. In 2020, we supported more than 1,400 students going to Germany and 230 students from Germany to India. I have to say the number has been dropping a bit from Germany to India due to the COVID pandemic and due to travel restrictions, but we hope that we will see an increase this year or next year again. We support the internationalization of higher education institutions, and we are currently running 69 cooperation projects, a couple of them together with our partners, the University Grants Commission and also the DST. And I saw Varshney here in the meeting, so Varshney, greetings also to you. We are active in policy dialogue, and we also manage the Center for Research and Innovation. And last but not least, we are taking care of our 4,500 alumni who are bridge builders and who has a strong network in India and who help us with our work. Let me, in the following minutes, raise 6 points of importance for the future cooperation from my perspective. First point is cooperation with a strong partner. We know that international cooperation builds on trustful partners and networks, and the numerous co-funded programs ensure cooperation at eye level and ensures that we select the topics of common interest. The Indo-German Partnerships scheme, and I see here a couple of universities who are participating and taking or who succeeded in the funding line, co-funded by UHCC and DAD, as well as the program co-funded with DST, have been proven to be successful. This gives us the opportunity to open special India-focused funding lines and increases the number of funded projects. So we are glad to have with the Indian government a strong partner and hope to take that journey also in the coming years forward. So it's for us, it's essential also in negotiations with our ministries that the Indian government is doing investments, and that helps us also in our internal discussions in Germany to say that we need more and stronger cooperation with India. So thanks for that support. Networks and strategic partnerships. We have seen over the last decades that international higher education projects mainly were based on 2 cooperation partners. And the number of MOUs have been an indicator for internationalization. But we also see, especially in Germany, that in the last years, a shift. So universities in Germany are looking for strategic partnerships, including multiple departments and subject fields. With the IGP program, which I mentioned, the DAD and the UGC have established an instrument to support this approach. Furthermore, networks of multiple institutions focusing on specific topics are gaining momentum in internationalization, and I think we would need to work on this topic further. One example is the Center, ABCD Center, the Center for Global Water and Climate Adaptation Center, which just has been mentioned by Nicole, which is based in Chennai and run by the TU Dresden and RWTH Aachen jointly together in Germany. But also the program Excellence Centers for Exchange and Development, EXCEED, supported by the DAD, is one of these examples. And I really see a scope for future cooperation in extending the network. That leads me to my third point, enlarging the networks of institutions and democratization of international education. The Indo-German higher cooperation is based on a strong, but given the number of the Indian as well German institutions in higher education, still limited network. What we see is a set of institutions who are very successful in implementing projects and acquiring funds. They are for sure the drivers of Indo-German cooperation. Nevertheless, a systematic extension of this network in Germany and India, of course, without compromising the quality, would add value to the Indo-German cooperation. And this also includes to ensure that the existing funding mechanisms are used by more players. Against this background, we as DAD are working at the moment to systematically expand the network. We will run a conference in May, IHED, in cooperation with the Association of Indian Universities, which gives higher education institutions in both countries the opportunity to connect. And I would like to highlight also for our Indian partners, this conference is not limited, it's completely open to the whole education system. So let's see how many institutions we can onboard from India. And furthermore, we are intensifying our targeted outreach. And I would also like to mention, as there has been Professor Leonard here, that we will run a fact-finding mission for German universities of applied sciences in autumn to Calcutta and Bangalore, with the aim to foster their engagement in the Indo-German cooperation. That has been long in the making, and hopefully this year we can realize it. My fourth point would be guidelines and regulatory reform. We have heard about on the national education policy opening new vistas. In order to facilitate and establish suitable international cooperation, universities and colleges need clear guidelines and a regulatory framework. We are looking forward to the regulations with regard to the twinning double degree and joint degree programs, which are drafted by the Indian government. but as well to the credit transfer bank, which is in the making. As DAD, we are currently preparing with our German and Indian partners a guideline for Indo-German double degree and joint degree programs. We just have established a working group. And we hope also to support universities in the near future with a guideline for adjusting the ECTS system with the new established credit transfer system in India. So I think it's important to help the universities, so not that they start from all over again whenever is there a program upcoming, and I think we need to work more in this field. Individual mobility and access, and I've just learned from my colleague that you raised the question of bridging the gap and making the bachelor programs more accessible to Indian students to Germany. We've seen an increase in the mobility seeking from India to Germany over the last 10 years, yearly increase of 20%, but we have to admit that major part of these 29,000 students I mentioned are enrolled in master and PhD programs, 85%. So we are looking currently, first of all, to ease the processes and enable more students access to bachelor programs. Together with our German partners, we are developing a Digitales Studienkolleg, digital bridge course, which is piloted, and India is one of the piloting countries, and we hope to level that then up once the pilot has been run. And I also would like to mention that with the embassy, we are establishing an academic evaluation center, APS, which hopefully will help in proceeding visa procedures and will fasting up the visa processes. So we are on that and together with the German embassy. Nevertheless, we are witnessing an imbalance in the individual mobility. This is not deniable. And the attraction of German students to India remains a challenge. And I just heard India has to promote itself better. Yes, that is true, but I also believe that cooperation projects between universities seems to be a catalyzer for attracting German students. So increasing structured exchange program leading to a double degree or micro degree could be one path to be followed. And we from our side, we have a project which is in the Ministry of Education on the desk. Let's see if we get the approval for summer schools and internships for German students to India, but let us see what the government and what the BMBF will be deciding. My last point would be integrated approach. And Dr. Reddy, I brought this up in the meeting on the Science and Technology Corporation on Tuesday. Internationalization of higher education institutions and cooperation needs on an institution level an integrated approach which encompasses elements such as individual mobility, student and staff exchange, cooperation projects, but also internationalization at home. And I think we should need, and not just focusing on the numbers of exchange, we should need at all the instruments and mechanisms in place. Here we have been organizing and supporting Indian institutions with workshops with the aim to support their building up their structures for internationalization. And we hope to continue this, of course, based on the need of our partners. But when we talk about academic cooperation on a national level, one should integrate higher education institutions, non-university research, and take also technology transfer institutions into account. So that such an integrated approach adds value and benefit can be seen in the German Center for Research and Innovation in Delhi, where universities, non-university research institutions, funding bodies, but also startups and industry-based companies, industry-based research join hands. So one idea to take the academic cooperation between India and Germany a step further could be a mapping and roadmap process with the aim to define future strategic areas of cooperation and identify gaps in the cooperation system with our Indian partners. Now, I have to say today is a very black day for Europe. I have a strong background in Eastern European history, and I've been living a long time in Eastern Europe. And I think and I believe that cooperating with a strong partner as India, who shares our democratic values, is more important even what we are witnessing today. So we are looking forward together with our partners support the Indo-German Corporation through individual funding, by supporting higher education cooperation, and also by taking the policy discourse forward. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Katya, for your presentation and giving the perspective from the DAD's point of view, and also talking about the 6 points which you have mentioned. And as I said, we will closely work in the coming days on these 6 points and other points which the panelists will be coming up with. And I just wanted to mention that we are running a little behind schedule. I'll request the patience from other panelists. We are having a very interesting discussion. Now we will have the next presentation by Professor B.J. Rao, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad. Before taking the charge as Vice Chancellor at University of Hyderabad, Professor Rao was Senior Professor, Chair of Biology, Dean, Faculty at the Indian Institute of Science and Science Education and Research, ISER at Tirupati. Prior to joining ISER Tirupati, Professor Rao was Senior Professor and Chair Biology for several years at Tata Institute for Fundamental Research in Mumbai and successfully headed the programs of Mechanism of Genome Dynamics and Cellular Adaptations Laboratory at TIFR Mumbai. His areas of specialization are molecular basis of genome dynamics, computational biology of genomes and protein active sites, cellular physiology and metabolism, fields in which he made fundamental contributions. Apart from his research in the domain of biology, he is also interested in dissemination of scientific knowledge and outreach activities. He has to his credit more than 130 publications with more than 1,300 citations. Professor Rao obtained his BSc from Nizam College and MSc from Osmania University in Hyderabad, winning gold medalist in both of them. He then obtained PhD from Indian Institute of Science in the domain of biochemistry. Later, he moved to Yale Medical School for his postdoctoral training and served as research scientist for 7 years. On his return to India, he worked at TFR for several years. He is fellow of all the 3 national academies in India and Sir J.C. Bose Fellow of the Department of Science and Technology. Professor Rao is a chief member and advisor on various committees. He has won several awards and fellowships. He is the chief editor of Journal of Biosciences. He perceives biology as a complex manifestation of physics chemistry of a dynamically evolving system and emphasizes the design principles in biology. May I now request Professor B.J. Rao, Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad, to make his presentation, please.
To all of you, it's a real pleasure to be part of this very interactive session. I represent a very large university, University of Hyderabad. It is a very important university in terms of multidisciplinarity. Multidisciplinarity goes much beyond STEM regions. So we bring in deep humanities, social sciences, and other areas of knowledge along with STEM. So therefore, University of Hyderabad is quintessential university in all its flavors. University of Hyderabad has been a very strong partner with German system for a long time, several decades now. We have been part of very important programs such as DAD, Alexander Humboldt Fellows, Alexander Humboldt Prize winners. Several of my colleagues are senior Humboldt Fellowship holders, Wilhelm Bessel Awards, Volkswagen Awards, German Academy of Sciences Leopoldina, Gyan Course awardees, DST DAD Public-Private Partnership Project awardees, and we have been winners of 2 rounds of International Research Training Groups program that our member from DST, Dr. Varshney, was mentioning about. We have held successful partnership programs between German systems and university system training very large number of students. Several tens of PhD students across years have been trained, close to 100 or so PhD students from German system as well as from university system here. And very important publications have come about in this partnership. Large number of faculty members have done exchange visits from both sides. Areas have been enriched by these partnership efforts. So the way forward for this partnership is to really scale it up further, because I think the existing as well as the past efforts have borne very, very serious fruits, and these efforts have to be scaled up further. And in addition to scaling up, we need to really strengthen our partnership in terms of translating the knowledge that we have generated. Large amount of knowledge has been generated in our partnership efforts by several decades of work, but this knowledge has to be translated, and we need to bring in it to solidify some of these knowledge efforts. And therefore, in the years to come, we need to take up initiatives between University of Hyderabad as well as several other universities in German system with which we have been partnering so far into awarding combined degrees, into awarding programs which lead our students into generating important high-end skills and setting up combined, industry level partnerships. Thereby, our knowledge content is translated into real products. So the opportunities are very high, and we need to do some very serious handshaking events so that we can bring in this particular efforts to a high level of fruition. I don't want to go into too many details now, but I think when we do one-to-one conversations with our partners in Germany, we will be bringing out a lot more specific details. And the current ecosystem of the country, namely national education policy, as well as the Institute of Eminence that we are part of, actually open up tremendous opportunities of extending our bridges much further than exchanging knowledge. So I think we should move in that direction, and hopefully in the near future, when we get out of this pandemic, we actually sit down, talk to each other, and do some very serious thinking of taking up this further into newer horizons. Thank you very much. I don't want to elaborate too much more. We will discuss more in one-to-one talks. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Now we'll move on to the next presenter, Professor Ute Hebel. She is Vice Rector, International Affairs at RWTH Aachen University. Professor Hebel received her PhD in psychology at the University of Tübingen. She did her postdoctoral lecture qualification in Vienna, Austria, and has become professor for neuropsychological gender studies in 2009 at the Department of Psychiatry, Psychotherapy, and Psychosomatics of the Medical Faculty, RWTH Aachen University. She's the head of section neuropsychology in this department, as well as the director at the INM 10 Forschungszentrum Zurich Joint Zara Brain Institute, Brain Structure Function Relationships of RWTH Aachen and Forschungszentrum Zurich. Professor Hebel's research focus lies on neurological correlates of emotion, specifically aggression and impulsivity in the recent years, and social cognition, as well as gender differences in healthy individuals and psychiatric patients. She's a speaker of the International Research Training Group, IRTG, funded by DFG in collaboration with the University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, the neuroscience of modulating aggression and impulsivity in psychopathology. Since 2018, she has been elected Vice Rector for International Affairs at RWTH Aachen University. May I now request Professor Hebel to give a presentation, please?
Thank you very much for that really kind introduction, and also for the invitation to have me with you in that meeting. And it's really a pleasure to see so many people and institutions here, and all united in their wish to cooperate and to continue cooperation with India. And I would certainly also like to use the opportunity to congratulate you to 75 years of India's independence, and especially use this opportunity with an event on science and technology. And we have just learned today once more in Europe, and it has been mentioned before, what a value the independence of a country has. Our thoughts are with the Ukraine today, and we're all touched here in Europe especially. But certainly science and technology will be our future and are very important. And also the internationalization of higher education is an ambitious goal that India has, but that we certainly share. And as a Vice Rector for International Affairs at our university, there are probably a few points that I can add from our experience. I think research and education should be closely intertwined from early on in the educational course. At RWTH Aachen, we're deeply involved in scientific cooperation projects between India and Germany. And the subtitle of our excellence strategy, and you've heard there is this excellence initiative in Germany, and we're part of the excellent universities. And this subtitle is Knowledge, Impact, and Networks. We try to generate knowledge. We would like to transfer it to the next generation of students, researchers, but also society. And for this, we're extremely dependent on our networks, and also especially on our international networks. And we're quite proud that over 1,900 students from India study in Aachen, which is significant, and we are a rather small town. And these students and researchers certainly enrich our university, make it more international and diverse, and certainly also the RWTH stronger in research. You can say it like they turn Aachen into a real hotspot within Germany for bright young Indians. And this might be strongly supported by our research projects with partners in India, especially with the IIT Madras. Probably just to mention a few fields, there are projects in medical information technology, there are projects in hydraulic engineering and water resources management, in advanced materials research, and also in my field, you've heard this is brain research with the biomedical field at the IIT in Madras. This illustrates the significance in the real world and also the future potential that our research activities with India have and will have. Against this background, we're of course strongly interested in bilateral research funding, which is what I think what paves the way for intensified and successful collaborations. That's why I was particularly happy, and it has been mentioned before, to hear about the recent initiative towards DFG and DST funded Indo-German international research training groups. This is an excellent development. As a speaker of such an IITGS for many years now, I can firmly say that these instruments in joint structural doctoral education are ideal to foster and form a new generation of internationally, and what we think is also essential, interdisciplinary, highly skilled, talented young researchers. RWTH scientists have also been successful in several of the 2+2 projects funded by the Indo-German Science and Technology Center. We're very grateful for this institution and also noticed that several new programs are underway right now. Especially the new WISER program is an important initiative, as we think, since we all know and we face a lack of sufficient female participation and involvement in STEM. Then, as some of you know, RWTH Aachen is also involved in several larger DAD-funded programs. I'm going to mention just a few, and there have been already mentionings about the ABCD Center. But first, the Indo-German Center for Sustainability, the IGCS, together with the IIT Madras, the TU Berlin, the University of Stuttgart and Kiel, is maybe the flagship program between India and Germany when it comes to a large network, a well-developed and large-scale exchange with around 100 funded individuals annually. And it looks back on quite a long history, over 12 years now, and it's, I think, one of the success stories. And now the newly founded Global Water and Climate Adaptation Center, we've heard it, the ABCD Center with Aachen, Bangkok, Chennai, and Dresden, TU Dresden in the lead, but the center's location is at the IIT in Madras. And with this new center, we extend and deepen our scientific networks in India even further. So with IGCS and ABCD Center, you see the emphasis we put on research and teaching in sustainability. Especially this has become a major focus within the university and the strategy of the university, and certainly climate change. We consider these as extremely important, especially when it comes to the bilateral relations between Germany and India. We know also, and we acknowledge it very much, that our strategic partnership with the IIT Madras has been supported by the DAAD and the University Grants Commission, and we're very thankful for that. And then we continue to support the joint research programs, projects by our own programs. We have a fellowship, the junior and the senior fellowship for the collaboration between RWTH Aachen and IIT Madras. Some of you might also know that RWTH Aachen has an India office in New Delhi and actively contributes, and I think we should all do that, to the German House for Research and Innovation in New Delhi. This further illustrates the importance we attribute to our strategic Indian activities and to India's ever-growing importance. So I really hope to be able to continue and expand our successful path to exchange information on all these various activities, to inform you about our experiences, to learn from each other about upcoming initiatives, and it has also been mentioned, to join forces to address the Sustainable Development Goals. It's a pleasure to be here, to meet you all today, and I wish you a successful event series. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Hebel. We will now move on to the next speaker because of, as I said, we are running a little behind schedule. So We'll now have Dr. Birgit Baden-Lofer, who is the head of International Office of Leibniz University, Hanover. Since 2008, she has been designing training courses on topics related to internationalization of universities within that DIES program, initially with Indian universities. And since 2014, the DIES training course on management of internationalization. Since 2012, she has been a member of DID Executive Board and DAD Working Group International Students. Now I will request Dr. Birgit Baden-Lofer to make her presentation, please.
Yeah, thank you a lot for the invitation. Hello to everybody. And also from my side, first of all, congratulations to your celebration of 75 years of independence. This is really important, really grateful event for you and for us all, I think, especially like already mentioned, Professor Habel mentioned it also, in the situation now we have in Europe. Yeah, cooperation with India is really important for us all. We are here, I think, and for us, the Leibniz University Hanover, as of 2005, India became focus for our international cooperation. And together with Balaramani, who already had to leave us now here, I started to cooperate with Indian universities because we noticed India and Indian universities are really important internationally for cooperation and doing research together and develop further research topics and solutions for the global world and to solve the problems we all have today all over. We have LUH has cooperation with more than 10 institutions in India, mostly with the IITs, with the IICERs, with the CSIRs in ocean and coastal protection, gravitation, physics, computational sciences, energy, waste. We also take part in a lot of DAAD projects. And I think it was mentioned before several times for sure, all these programs where we have joint cooperation, joint funding, joint research are really important for us to establish good solutions in research and also to educate our students and PhD candidates for the global labor market. This is really important. We have more Indian students at our university in the moment. There are more than 500 Indian students at our university. This is the second biggest number of international students at our university. We are also proud to have the ICCR chair professor at our university nearly every year now. We had this ICCR chair on yoga, on gender diversity, on law. And this helps a lot the cooperation between the Indian universities and our faculties. And also the LUH joined the board of the DWIH, the DWIH, last year. And this is also important, I think, to cooperate with the Indian research market and the Indian higher education system. And for sure, we have these, as you already mentioned in my biography, we have these DAAD-funded DIAS project, Training for Management of Internationalization. And as of 2009, we are strongly cooperating with Indian universities to improve the internationalization structures and management structures of the Indian universities. So I want to keep it short because time is running. Everybody is waiting for the break, I think. So I thank you a lot, and I hope we will improve our cooperation and will continue with all these good relations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Birgit Baden, for your remarks. Now I will request Professor Kamakoti Vijayanathn, the Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Professor Kamakoti received his MS and PhD degrees in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Madras and joined the faculty of IIT Madras in 2001 and took over as its director in January 2022 this year. He specializes in the area of computer architecture, information security, and VLSI design. He heads the microprocessor development program and the information security education and awareness program at IIT Madras, funded by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Professor Kamakoti is a member of the National Security Advisory Board. He is also the chairman of the Artificial Intelligence Task Force constituted by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. At IIT Madras, he has served as the chairman, JEE, and as associate dean, industrial consultancy and sponsored research. He has more than 150 publications in international journals and conferences, guided several research scholars for the PhD and Master of Science by Research program. He has coordinated and successfully delivered close to 50 projects from industry and government R&D establishments. He serves in technology committees of the National Stock Exchange and Reserve Bank of India. Professor Kamakoti is the recipient of DRDO Academic Excellence Award, Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association Techno Visionary Award, Abdul Kalam Technology Innovation National Fellowship, ACCS Lifetime Achievement Award, IBM Faculty Award, and Vasvik International Research Award. May I now request Professor Kamakoti to make his presentation, please.
Thank you for this very, very kind introduction. I'll keep it very, very short. Next slide. With Germany, of course, Germany has been our mentor institution at the early stages of formation of our IIT Madras. Currently, we have around 30 MOUs with German universities. We have joint degree programs, one with Aachen, Duisburg, and Passau, and a master's program with Passau, and a joint supervision program with Heidelberg University. Next slide. With respect to, we had a very a good student exchange program. We had around close to 150 students in the last in the year 2016 to 2019. Of course, due to pandemic, we do not have any student exchange program currently. From IIT, we had close to 600 students who had gone to Germany under various schemes. Next. In the last 5 years, 2016 to 2021, IIT Madras has co-authored 355 publications with 56 collaborating institutions across Germany. Next. The strategic partnership program with the Aachen University, it's a sort of a very a model program that we can follow. We have joint research activities. We have a lot of increased startup activities. We have now 4 students under joint degree program, and we also have enhanced mobility in this. So the entire motto is to growing the German competence of IIT Madras student and India competence of RWTS students, socially and environmentally relevant subject areas, including topics like entrepreneurships. Next. So these are some of the suggestions that we have in the Global Engagement Initiative. So we would like to have this jointly funded bilateral mobility program, specifically for our joint doctoral students and faculty. Through this jointly funded mobility program, we could have certain nice funding. We are also starting an eminent speaker series where we want to invite eminent speakers at the intersection of policy and science to further dialogue in these areas. On the international academic program, Grishma is a global internship opportunity for foreign students, which is offered by IIT Madras. We also have an international immersion experience program through which we partially support up to 100 graduate IITM students to go abroad on exchange programs through a competitive proposal call. And we also have developing joint masters and joint doctoral programs with partner universities. We also propose to have an international conference secretariat. The secretariat, which organizes high quality and high impact conferences that bring together leading voices from varied fields to a diverse audience. So these are some of our global engagement initiatives in place, and we would like to work with Germany counterparts to leverage all these engagement and take it to a much more closer and tighter interaction. Next. So these are 9 interdisciplinary master's degree programs that IIT Madras has started. It ranges from advanced materials to biomedical engineering, complex systems, data science, robotics, computational engineering, cyber physical systems, energy systems, and quantum sciences and technology. And this is open to the international students, and we also would like to have a number of German students coming and enrolling for these master degree programs. So these are some of the proposals that we have. We are looking at a prospective Indo-German Research Academy, which can bring the German partners and Indian partners under one umbrella. Specifically from IIT Madras, we have the IIT Madras and all our German partners under one umbrella. And it also brings all students of all caliber, the bachelor's, master's, PhD, and postdocs, who can leverage this single umbrella, take advantage of the research infrastructure and cutting-edge research, along with the teaching facilities that exist across India and Germany. And this will also be a forum where we can showcase the high-end potential of Indo-German partnerships to the world. We can also create an endowment fund to facilitate mobility and research in these partnerships, and we can strengthen the Indo-German alumni network also. And this can also pave way for a highly collaborative startup ecosystem. So this is one proposal that we have in mind. Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I made it very short, and we look forward to work very closely with our German counterparts in taking our interactions to great heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kamakoti, for your short and crisp presentation and talking about the history behind IIT Madras German Cooperation. Now I will request Dr. Susan Presthoff, Head of International Office, Department of Academic Cooperation, Asia, Africa, Latin America and MENA region, University of Cologne. Dr. Susan studied Sinology, German and Economics at the University of Cologne and earned her doctorate in Psychology in 2006 at the Technical University Dortmund University. In 2007, she moved from the private sector to the University of Cologne and headed the International Students Department since 2014. Since 2015, Dr. Presthoff has been coordinating the University of Cologne's refugee activities on behalf of the Rectorate. May I now request Dr. Susan to make a presentation?
Yeah, thank you very much, and hello to everybody. Due to the time, let me make it very, very brief. And yeah, the University of Cologne is engaged in India since 2009 with an office, and we are one of the founding members of the DVH in Delhi. And since 2021, we decided to use our Indian office also as a hub to South Asia. And as everybody talked about, we have a lot of bilateral activities with Indian institutes such as IIMs and IISC, and yeah, whatever you talked about. We are also very active in third-party funding projects, and I really do not want to add many more projects to the list, as everybody talked about so much. But what we think is very important, and I think we should add it here again, that we can only solve the worldwide problems in a one world approach. And so we think about that it might be very important to use India or our office in India also for activities in the region, as our Afghanistan project. So together with a symbiosis in India, we still run DAF remotely courses within Afghani students in Herat University. We try to connect our DVH activities, not only, we try to connect our activities. For example, together with the DVH in Brazil, we try to run proposal writing courses. So they are participants from India and from Brazil together. And we also try to do trilateral summer schools. Due to the pandemic, it's very easy to connect more than 2 countries virtually. And as already said, summer schools are really, really a good point to bring students together and to make the barriers low between our countries. And so we had the first trilateral summer school, German, India, Indonesia last summer, and that was really and highlight. So in addition to all what you talked about bilaterally, let us not forget that we can, due to the virtual world and due to that, the big problems of the world are only to solve if we work in a one world approach, use our Indian and German corporations on behalf of the whole world approach and the SDG and global responsibility. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Susan, for your short and crisp presentation. Now we will move on to the next presentation by Professor J. Gauri Shankar, who is the Director of Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research at Mohali. Professor Gauri Shankar is a medical graduate from Christian Medical College, Vellore. He has opted for a career in research and obtained his PhD in microbial genetics in 1993 from University of Melbourne, Australia. He was a scientist and group leader at the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad from 1983 to 2000, when he was invited to join the faculty of the Center for DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics, CDFD, Hyderabad. Dr. Gauri Shankar served as the director of CDFD from 2006 to 2015. Since December 2019, he is the director at the ICER Mohali. The broad theme of Dr. Gauri Shankar's research has been the use of genetic and molecular approaches to understand various physiological processes in bacteria, including osmoregulation, solute transport, RNA processing and turnover, maintenance of genome integrity, and the interplay between transcription, translation, and DNA replication. Professor Gauri Shankar is an elected fellow of the Indian National Science Academy, Indian Academy of Sciences, and the National Academy of Sciences. He has been recipient of Young Scientist Awards of INSA, CSIR, B.M. Birla Award, and the prestigious Scientist Swaroop Bhatnagar Prize, Vicky Award, CSIR Technology Prize, New Millennium Medal of Indian Science Congress, the Om Prakash Bhasin Award, Sir J.C. Bose National Fellowships, and Mosilio Schreiter Award of the American Society for Microbiology, and INSA Senior Scientist Award. In 2013, Dr. Gauri Shankar was conferred with the Padma Shri Award by the Government of India. May I now request Professor Gauri Shankar to make his presentation, please?
Yeah, hello, good afternoon, everyone. And it's a great pleasure for me to be part of this conference on Indo-German cooperation in higher education and technical education. And my special congratulations to Dr. Madhu Reddy for organizing this in such a wonderful manner. In the interest of time, once again, as others have said, we have heard presentations from both sides, from very distinguished people. What I do here is to very briefly talk about the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, and to say that we are the new kids on the block, right? We are 7 such institutions set up by an act of parliament. The oldest of them have graduated up to 10 batches so far, and the youngest have so far graduated 2 batches. So we are still very young, set up on the lines of the Indian Institute of Technology, of the which have set very high standards for us to emulate and follow. We are in the area of basic sciences in a very competitive manner. We select students after high school and take them through courses in physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. And at the end of it, after a 5-year fully residential course that is undertaken in the 7 institutes, they come out with a combined or a dual degree of bachelor's and master's of science. And the program itself is extremely research intensive and hands-on. What we are therefore looking at are collaborations and cooperations in terms of both faculty and student exchanges, as have been discussed, with support of agencies in India and agencies such as DAD in Germany. We already have bilateral exchange programs with the Max Planck Institutes, all 7 of us, and we are requesting that similar collaborations can be done with other universities and agencies such as the Helmholtz Association and the Technical University, Dresden, and so on. as some of the previous speakers from Germany have said, they are already in collaboration with the ICERs. So I think with that, I will stop here again, as I said, so that we can catch up with a little bit of time. Other than to say that otherwise, we are part of the larger organization of the Ministry of Education, and we are in the same boat as the IISc and the IITs for technical education, for technical and scientific education. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gaurishankar, for your quick remarks. And now we will move on to the next speaker. We have Dr. Ulrike Hillmann-Delaney, who's the Director of International Affairs at Technical University Berlin. So she is responsible for managing the different aspects of internationalization at Technical University Berlin, from student mobility and international student welfare to research cooperation and strategic partnership. She also advises TU Berlin on further development of its internationalization strategy. Ulrike previously served as Deputy Head of Science and Innovation at the British Embassy in Berlin and as the Head of International Strategy and Partnerships at Imperial College London. She has published on British history and history of the British imperial expansion, as well as on internationalization and doctoral education. Ulrike holds a doctorate in history from the University of Cambridge and a Master of Arts in History from LMU Munich. Her PhD thesis was published by Palgrave Macmillan in the Cambridge Imperial and Postcolonial Studies series under the title Asian Empire and British Knowledge. May I now request Dr. Ulrike Hillmann-Delaney to make a presentation, please. I saw Dr. Ulrike. Okay, it looks like there is some technical issue, so we'll move on to the next speaker in the meanwhile. So we'll have Dr. Uwe Moos, Director of Göttingen International, George Augustus University at Göttingen. Dr. Moos has a PhD in forestry from University of Göttingen, and he was previously the Managing Director, Panacea Growth, Belize, Central America, on teak and mahogany plantations. From 1999 to 2003, he was a scientist and lecturer at the Faculty of Forestry, University of Göttingen. And from 2003 to 2008, he was the Managing Director, Center for Tropical and Subtropical Agriculture and Forestry, University of Göttingen, where he was coordinating international research activities, postgraduate programs, international alumni affairs. Since 2008, Dr. Moos is the Director of Göttingen International Development, where his work involves the development and implementation of the international strategy, overseeing international relations, including the liaison office in India at DWH New Delhi, strategic partners and networks, international marketing, welcome center, international student services, international mobility and educational programs, international Erasmus Plus coordinator, Coimbra Group representative, member of advisory board on internationalization of University of Hamburg, external reviewer for DAD. So with this short introduction, I would request Uwe Moos, Director Göttingen International from Göttingen University, to make a presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reddy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead, Dr. Moos.
All right, Your Excellency, Mr. Harsh, dear Dr. Reddy, first of all, congratulations to the anniversary first. Distinguished guests, dear colleagues, it's really an honor for me to be here today on behalf of the University of Göttingen. And I would like also to extend my gratitude to the embassy to invite us here for this event. Well, Göttingen has a long tradition in cooperation with India since 200 years. 1826 already the Institute of Indology was established, but the real boost came in 2008 when we started to cooperate in the frame also of the Excellence Initiative to set up the liaison office at Pune University in 2008. And I remember quite well that we had 44 Indian students at that time here in Göttingen. And as part of our international strategy, also here at Göttingen University, we established many and started many international programs, especially at master and PhD level, and if possible, double and joint degrees. And as my colleague Dr. Griesop already said from FU Berlin, also of course Göttingen was doing that to increase cooperation and research also with especially Indian institutions. which was quite successful. So we moved to Delhi with our office in 2017 under the roof of the DWIH. And at our side here in Göttingen, a very important institution in terms of the cooperation is the so-called CEMIS, the Center for Modern Indian Studies, which is devoted to research and teaching on the economic and political development of modern Indian. So a bit different to most of the others who are rather into technical cooperation or STEM fields. So this CEMIS offers modern Indian studies at bachelor, master, and PhD level, but is also part of the transnational research group Poverty Reduction and Policy for the Poor between the state and private actors, education policy in India since 19th century of the Max Weber Foundation, and is also part of the German-Indian Consortium of Universities and Research Institutions, starting the MS Mariam Tagore International Center for Advanced Studies in the Humanities and Social Sciences, funded also by the BMBF, and a research unit on social ecological systems in the Indian rural-urban interface is financed by DFG and DBT, and is also involving the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore. So it has already been highlighted, these jointly funded schemes in research are very much appreciated, that I must say. And also maybe rather recently also, we have now a DFG funded research project, including crisis as catalyst, COVID-19, social citizenship and political transformation in India. We are managing some of the DAD funded New Passage to India projects, but also an Erasmus Plus consortium with Heidelberg and Cologne on board. But also, and that has been mentioned by Katja Lesch, we also have an alumni project started by our Indian alumni, and it's about the sustainable forest management in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. And this is not because I'm a forester, but we have quite some in the field of forestry and agriculture. Besides the study and research programs, I would like also to highlight that several developments have been accomplished over the past 2 years. Along with the travel restrictions, we started to offer also online events and activities such as India-Germany cultural exchange for teaching staff, administrative staff, and researchers, which was very successful. And all these activities over the past 20 years from Göttingen with the Indian partners led to the fact that we meanwhile have 320, I think, Indian students here, out of which 100 are at PhD and 200 at master level. And as time is running, I would like to conclude by expressing my hope that this meeting will bring some positive outcomes, paving the road for future collaboration. And I can say that for Göttingen, that India will even more be of interest for cooperation in education and research, but for many other universities and universities of applied sciences, I can state that as well. I think since other large countries on the world are on a different track these days, and especially also for our researchers, India will maintain a stronghold, really. In closing, I would like to express again my appreciation, Dr. Reddy, to the Indian Embassy for inviting us to this dialogue, and I thank you very much also on behalf of our president who cannot attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mills, for your presentation. Now we will move on to the next presentation by Dr. Suresh Bojraj, who is the Vice Chancellor, Pro Chancellor, JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research in Mysuru. He is the Professor Dr. Suresh Bojraj, who is the former President of Pharmacy Council of India and who has been actively involved in uplifting the standards of pharmacy education and profession in India for the past 35 years and has distinguished himself as an eminent educationist, pharmacist, and leader. Dr. Suresh has served continuously as the President of the Pharmacy Council of India from 2003 to 2021. During his leadership tenure, Dr. Suresh has actively promoted the pharmacy practice concept in India, including by introducing postgraduate pharmacy practice and PharmD programs. Besides, several regulations that brought about a paradigm shift in the pharmacy education and profession. As the founding Vice Chancellor of JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research, Dr. Suresh has led the university to evolve as the most respected university in the country. He is the recipient of several national and international awards, including the FAPA Ishidate Award, Fellowship of Commonwealth Pharmacists Association, the prestigious Eminent Pharmacist Award of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association, the Emal Sharif Award, and so on and so forth. He continues to provide his leadership role in his multifaceted career by serving on several national and international committees. He is fondly liked by all his colleagues for his human approach and his excellent teamwork. May I now request Dr. Suresh Bhojraj to make his presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Madhusudan Reddy, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, colleagues from different parts of the world. So greetings from JS Academy of Higher Education and Research. As told by all my other earlier speakers and colleagues, I would like to also be very brief. We have had an excellent relationship in maintaining Indo-German collaboration in the previous years. All my other colleagues from India who spoke, between them and our university, there is two differences are there, which I would like to highlight. One, ours is a private university. So I think the private university is represented here on this platform. And I thank Dr. Madhusudan Reddy and Dr. Varshney for inviting us to be here on this platform. Second one is ours is a strongly health sciences linked university, or health sciences university with life sciences and technical education coming together. So what I felt was hearing from all my colleagues here speaking about advances in technology and technical education. I think the most important application of technology and technical education is moving towards health sciences and healthcare of the world. So I think it's a very important direction, which we would definitely like to collaborate with the German universities. We have had strong relationships with University of Bonn, University of Regensburg, University of Cologne, and they have been in the research areas with exchange of faculty and students. As of now, we have got about 111 international cooperation spread all over the world. And with Germany presently, we have with Charity University Medicine at Berlin. With that, we are having a collaboration presently going on in Germany. And our focus has been in the last few years and driving towards this is the health technologies. We have worked closely with the biomedical instrumentation industry, and also in IT sector with the AI for health is what is the trials which we do it. And we have been a center for clinical trials for many of the vaccines that are being used in India and elsewhere in the world. So during the COVID period, we were one of the foremost institutes where we carried out the trials. And this is supported by our own 1,800 bed hospital, which was a center for trials. Our strong focus for the future is towards having a relationship between and bringing a relationship between technical education and health sciences education together with a strong life sciences base with that. Without this, the future is not going to exist. And as we are speaking right now with the support of Department of Science and Technology, non-aligned movement countries are together. We are having a workshop at my place where I come from in Mysore on women and gender women and water-related issues, how the world is facing it and what we are going on. Just to give the diverse areas in which we work, I'll just share only one slide to show our present international collaborations and outcomes. And I'll just like to bear with you only for 1 minute for that. Yeah. Here I would like to share to you the various collaborations. What did it bring out to us in international cooperations? We had several internships, expert visits taking place, student exchanges that happened. Several research projects came out of these collaborations, and there were faculty exchange and 289 publications, and collaborating authors, we had 381 collaborations, and these are all over the world. We had the collaborations. I just wanted to share this, and Thank you very much. I know we are running out of time, so I would not like to take more time here. I thank again the Indian Embassy in Germany, Berlin, for inviting me to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Dr. Suresh, for your presentation. Now we have one request from NIT Trichy. Dr. Raman Shankar Narayan would like to speak for 2 minutes. Maybe he will be the last speaker. Then we can have a little bit of discussion. Dr. Raman Shankar Narayan, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. I am from NIT Trichy, National Institute of Technology Trichy. We are about 300 kilometers south of Madras. You would have all been interacting with IIT Madras. And any technical survey, NIT Trichy comes within the top 10, 12 ranks in engineering institutions. And every year we are sending about 10 to 15 students to Germany on paid summer internship, and 5 to 10 students going abroad for higher studies. So right now my metallurgy student, I am from metallurgy. She is studying in Aachen, materials chemistry of steel. And also we have one faculty in metallurgy department who has come from Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So we have interaction, but we want to increase it further. So we are looking at 2 possibilities. Your suggestions will be very helpful. One, in terms of cooperative or joint degree programs, exchange programs, that is one option, where a student in the 3rd year or final year can come to Germany for 1 semester. That would be helpful. And secondly, in terms of increasing the footfall from Germany to come and interact with our students and our culture here. Thanks a lot. I will be in touch with this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shankar Narayan, for your presentation. Now we have finished the presentations. Now I will request if there are any questions or for discussions. I know we are running behind schedule, but I would request if there are any questions which the panelists would like to raise or have queries with the other panelists, then we can take 1 or 2 questions, quick questions. Looks like we are running much behind schedule, and yeah, there is one. Yeah, please ask.
First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Srinivas Reddy, working at Tübingen University with Professor Velavan. And even though I'm I would like to first of all thank Indian Embassy in Berlin as well as Reddy for making me join this meeting, and it has been wonderful. And then, so what, as an young scientist, so I'm working as a postdoctoral scientist, and I am part of several international DAT programs. So I basically, along with Professor Velavan, give several workshops to African students and East Asian students. So I worked in multiple countries, and I am part of several training programs. And my expertise is in infectious diseases, genomics, and molecular epidemiology and bioinformatics. So wherever I could contribute for this international program in future, and I am happy to be part of this.
I have a small request to the German experts who are attending this meeting. Kindly suggest ways by which I can identify universities which will take our BTech engineering students, bachelor's program engineering students, for 1 semester of study abroad. 1 semester of studies in Germany in engineering, and we are very keen on sending a good number of students. Germany is a great country for engineering, and your ambassador in Delhi is doing an excellent job. He knows a lot of things about India. We have been very privileged to interact with him. Thank you.
Anybody from German side would like to take? Yeah, please go ahead, Leonard.
Birgit Baden oder? Ja, ne? Birgit, fang.
Ich fange mal an, danke. Yes, thanks for this offer. Sure, we are always interested in good BTech students. It's a little bit, might be a problem, the language, because mostly our bachelor programs still in German language. So they should speak at least some German. It depends a little bit what concrete subject they will choose. We also offer some modules in English, so we have to look maybe individually and check what we can do. But all in all, we are always interested in good students from India for exchange, and also maybe establish a real exchange, also sending our students to your university. Thanks a lot. You can contact Balaramani. He's our coordinator for India, and I think he will be really open for this offer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor. And the German language is not going to be a problem, because if I have 1,000 undergraduate students joining every year, at least 40 or 50 would have had one introductory course in German out of their own interest. So their exposure to German will not be a problem. We can identify students. I will be happy to interact with you and take your lead forward. I think one more expert is.
Yes, I dropped the contact coordinates. I dropped them at Dr. Reddy for the German University Consortium for International Corporations, and I just presented you a model that is already running since 12 years together with Indian partners in the BTech area, integrating a significant part of German learning and intercultural preparation. So we have the possibilities, and Dr. Reddy has all the information in the presentation. It's the easiest is if you could share that.
Thank you, professors. We will contact you through the embassy. Definitely. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, Dr. Songate. Yeah, please go ahead. Unmute. Yeah, we can't hear you, Dr. Songate. You raised your hand. Oh, we can't hear you. No, we can't. Can you please start your video cam so that I can take a screenshot? Okay. Now, at the end, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, His Excellency Ambassador Parvatineni Harish, Dr. Varshney, Professor Anil Sahasrabuddhe, Dr. Ms. Neeta Prasad, Professor Subhashish Chaudhary, Professor Kamakoti, Professor G. Gauri Shankar, Professor B.J. Rao, Dr. Suresh Bhojraj from India, and from the German side, Professor Oliver Gunther, Dr. Engineer Dieter Leonhard, Dr. Felix Wagenfeld, Dr. Katja Lasch, Dr. Herbert Geschoff, Dr. Susan Peschoff, Dr. Uwe Moos, Professor Ute Hebel, Dr. Johan Willian was here, but he couldn't speak because he has another meeting. So I want to thank Dr. Willian also, Dr. Nicole Savarshek, Dr. Birgit Baden-Bluffer for their time and for contributing to this discussion. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice day. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. It has been a very, very, very helpful meeting. Thank you all.
Dr. Ray.
Special thanks to the Indian Embassy in Germany.
Thank you.